Hi, everyone. Welcome to a little bit of woo woo. I'm your host, Jill Thomas. Oh my God, you guys know I've been saying over the years, like that I go to a hypnotherapist. I've told you I get readings. I've told you I've had some amazing teachers. All three of them are right here. Michelle, this is my guest, Michele Meiché. I'm so excited. It's like when your hero gets to come on your show. It's so great. She's my hypnotherapist. She does a lot of psychic readings for me. I've been a student of hers for like 3,000 years. Actually, maybe for all we know.
Many lifetimes.
Who knows, right? I'm going to introduce her. Michele Meiché is a multifaceted spiritual guide, author, and host known for her work in metaphysics, psychic development, personal transformation. Transformation.
And transportation.
Yeah, there you go. Transportation to the spirit world. Her approach blends various spiritual practices to help individuals connect with their soul, to discover their soul purpose in life and all the good things. And like I said, she's been my teacher for a million years. Welcome, Michelle. I'm so excited.
Hello, Julie.
I love it. Like, oh my gosh, you guys. She also has an amazing show on YouTube. She does, you do pick a cards, which are just awesome. What is it? Is it, gosh.
Soul Insights and Tarot.
Thank
and then,
you.
Yeah, Awakenings with Michele Meiché podcast, which streams live on Podbean every Wednesday, 12 p.m.
It's easy for me to forget because it always just pops up magically. And so I'm like, oh, it's almost like not knowing somebody's phone number, you know?
I know. Well, we're starting to like put the replays and some lives, awakening conversations on YouTube as well. So I'm nudging over there little by little.
I love it. The first question I want to ask you, and I think a lot of people would love to know, what is it like growing up psychic to the level that you are? Because, you know, I've talked a little bit with people about having psychic abilities, but you were like 10x what most of us have experienced. So tell us what that's like.
Wow. Okay. Great. Amazing. Growing up, I did think that a lot of other people had this. Now, I was the one in school that knew if someone's little pet was going to die or some weird thing was going to happen at school. Like, oh, we're not going to have to go in school because something happened. Or sometimes with family members. I'll never forget one time we had gone to a family friend's house. And as we were leaving, they were saying, oh, we'll see you next week. You know, they were coming over for dinner at our house. And I said, no, you won't. And my mom's like, what? And I said, you're going to be in the hospital.
Oh, you did not.
I did, Jill. I did. Because you're a kid. So
yeah,
you don't,
you're a kid. Yeah.
How do you know? What? Don't say that. I don't know. I see you in the hospital. You're going to, something's happening. You're getting sick. Something's going, you won't be able to come and see us. And then, of course, the week came by and they did go in the hospital. They came out, but I saw that, you know, but my parents never stopped it, especially my mom. And I later knew when she crossed over that I found all these books as she was crossing over, actually, because she did also bring me the near-death experience, which I've had two, one at age 4, and then one later on that she brought me. But she knew about the silver quartz, spiritual realms, all this stuff that she didn't disclose while I was growing up, which I told her, I'm like, I wish we would have bonded more. Wish she would have brought this up. But she had all kinds of books, astrology, Edgar Cayce, that I found. So, and then one of my brothers, two of his children have a bit of this too, psychic ability and interest in the occult. But I don't know. It was great. It was so second nature. I think the biggest shift for me, because no matter what I did, you know, back modeling, acting, you know, teaching, whatever I was doing, I just always nurtured it, and I studied and did a lot of healing work, had a lot of interest in the occult or esoteric. It wasn't until the channeling came in when I started channeling other energies, entities, and getting a lot of predictions and visions beyond just me individually or friends or family. You know, my whole world really changed. And that I feel was very impacting. You know, and actually, you know, what's weird, Jill? I only realize now how impacting, I know this is going to sound weird, but how impacting it is and how much of a gift it really is, how much it's unusual. It's only now looking back and seeing all the predictions or the visions and how they've come to fruition, not just with people individually, but the earth changes, the world changes, and how they've come about. And it's given me a new level, honestly, of faith and
Interesting.
trust not only my guides, my higher self, the unseen world. I think we don't have enough trust. I'll give you an example. When I was assistant teaching, one of the places, I'll never forget, Johnny Flores, and people have heard me talk about him. I think I had like the 7:30 shift or whatever. I was driving in, I parked, and then I went up. These were like, preschool, kindergarten, first grade. And Johnny Flores, remember, what is those Power Rangers or whatever?
Yep.
He was doing his little Power Ranger thing. And he saw me and he looked out the fence, and I walked up and I, watched, I'm on duty. I'm watching the kids play. And he goes, "Hey, Miss Michelle." And I said, "Yeah, Johnny, hi." He says, "Where's your other car?" And I said, "Which one?" And he said, "The one you had last lifetime." And I said, "Oh, I'm not driving that one anymore. I'm using this one." He goes, "Oh, okay." I just think it gets taught out of us, the intuition, and for some people, the psychic ability. I found that when I was working a lot with kids, some would have past life recall of certain places that a lot of us have had that, but I just feel like it's socialized out. Like parents, "Oh, what are you talking?" Like, imagine if I was a teacher that said, "This is the only car," if I shut him down, "This is the only car I have. What are you talking about, Johnny? Other car." But I knew, because I'd had a lot of past life recall as 2, 3, 4 years old, and he said, "The one you had last lifetime." And
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Well, how did you actually start? Let's talk about that, the channeling, because I know that channeling is a very big part of what you do. How did you start channeling? Kind of tell us what it is a little bit. I know you do different kinds of channeling than most people. Because I've seen you do channeling where the guide actually goes into your body and your mannerisms change. And I gotta tell you guys, it was a little freaky, because I'm like, she looks like Michelle, but she's moving her hands in a weird way, and the voice was so different. And I've seen people channel, and I'm like, I'm not sure that they aren't faking it, but yeah, when you did it, it was a little creepy. I'll be honest with you. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I am what's called and I started doing this before a lot of people were doing this. And in fact, it wasn't until I was in Europe that I really understood more what I was doing, and I had some good teachers and guides. I'm just going to move this back a little bit so we're about the same. So channeling, when you're getting your intuition, the flashes, it's your sixth sense. So everybody is intuitive. Not everyone's psychic. Not everyone channels. I mean, I guess you could say channeling a painting or something artistic. It comes from something else, but it's a frequency shift with channeling. And so I'm what's called a conscious channel and also an unconscious. So I can get in a trance. In fact, when I get visions, I'm really in a trance. Or sometimes doing energy work, I get kind of transfixed, and the energy's coming through, or I'm receiving visions. And I really have, it's letting an energy, a beingness, entities, if I'm doing channeling, like as a psychic medium, so to me, it's all the same. It's just different frequencies. And it's not until later on in my path that I learned all these things are different. I'm just like, oh, I smell things. Sometimes I channel people on the other side, and I'm like smelling the cigar. And then the client is telling me, "Oh yeah, that's my, uncle, whatever, Caesar." I don't remember the guy's name, but he's like, "Yeah, he always smokes cigars." So it is a frequency, because the thing is, when you're channeling those on the other side, you're just separated out by frequency. And the thing is it's almost why it's so challenging, or like it takes a lot of energy. A lot of people don't realize how much energy it takes. Intuition, psychic, no problem. Channeling, because another being or energy or spirit guides like I work with, you do feel high, but it does take a lot of energy, because what happens is you're extending or expanding your vibrational frequency. You're expanding in consciousness and awareness, and they are reconfiguring. Okay, they're reconfiguring in a way that you can tap into them in a particular density level of form. Or like for me, if I'm working with a client, they have to show me a form that they have to give me information and show me a form that then relay to the client. And they say, oh yeah, that's what they look like, or that's what they did. And that, so it's not that people are floating around like ghosts or whatever. They're expanded out. They're not embodied anymore. They're not in a body, but the combined vibrational frequency and intention, because we are all interconnected, even those that are on the other side, there is this like recalibration, reconfiguration of, the not only the frequencies that they kind of come down or step down to create the form that you tap into. So part of what happened for me is that in the channeling, I had been traveling around the world, living different places because I was modeling and acting and traveling around. But I also I had started studying a lot and teaching and training and retraining, went back to school, getting a lot of certifications, studying astrology, doing all this while I was doing that, because that afforded me to take, chunks of time off. But I was also building my spiritual practice, right? I was doing some healing work. I was doing some intuition work. In fact, I think around the time I started channeling, I did have I auditioned for a TV show and I didn't get it. Someone else got it. And then they ended up not working out and I got it. All of a sudden, and this is something for your viewers, like a lot of times when we have shifts in life, stuff leaves. Stuff leaves like big time. So thank God I saved money, because I'd been, modeling around the world, jet setting, boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden it was like, slow down, slow down. And then it was like, and I was like with my agents, what's going on? What, and they literally have, people may not know this unless you're in this field, if you've been used a lot, overuse. And because people, photographers, advertising agencies, clients, brands, they get their faves. We see it all the time, but then they need to refresh. And so my agents were like, everybody loves you. It's not just you. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Because I'd never heard of this. They go, there's the do not use list. I'm like, what?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you're on the do not use. But I was on there with like 30 other really well-known models.
Wow.
Because the brands had been using us so much because they liked us. And so they got the messaging from about, whatever, the CEO, whoever it is, execs. We need to recycle some other people. They're great. We love them. But we need some new faces. We need some fresh faces. We can't keep using the same people over and over. So right as that was happening, I was starting to get awakened, which is interesting because it's been happening again right now with 3i Atlas.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that, you guys.
Yeah.
So don't worry, that's coming.
Okay. So I started getting woken around 3 a.m. And I noticed my abilities were getting more heightened, and I'll never forget one time I did this reading, and these energies came through. And I'd done a reading and I was like, who are you? And I could see them. It was kind of like apparitions or something. And I'm like, who are you? What is going on? And they're like, we're going to give you information. And they would tell me who I was going to bump into, who was I going to meet, and give them this information. And I did it. And it was really, really, accurate. Then what happened, I was in an astrology class, and the teacher, Jan Messenger, what a name, right? Messenger. And she
right,
was
of course.
a messenger, right? And I leave the class, and 3 a.m. ping, I get all this information, and I'm seeing her face. You got to give her this information. I used to write it all out. And then I'm like, during the day, I'm like, I'm not called. She's going to think I'm a nutcase, because then they started having me reach out to people, certain people. So I waited till the very, very last, like 4 or 5, in the evening. And then, because I kept getting this psychic push, this telepathic psychic push. I'm also telepathic and do remote viewing. And so I called her and I said, I know I'm in your class. Yeah, I know who you are, Michelle, because she had a store. She had a metaphysical bookstore. I'm not recalling the name, but maybe it'll come to me. And she said, oh, I remember you. And I said, listen, I'm very grounded and practical. I go, you're going to think you might think I'm nuts, but I told her what happened. And I gave her all this information, personal, and some of it was about a court case and some money and some things that had been going on. Some of it was personal, some of it was business. And she was totally godsmacked. And she told me, and in true astrologers are very scientific. They don't like the psychic getting in there. And she told me, she goes, "Oh my God, Michelle," she goes, "there's no way you could have known this. This is highly confidential information. And I've been praying for the answer or what to do. And this information is going to help me with my case." And she said, "I just got to tell you, even though I have own a metaphysical bookstore and I am an astrologer, I frankly, and I promote channelers, I usually think they're bullshit." That's what she told me. She goes, "I think they're quacks, but you're the real deal." And she goes, "I'm going to send you people." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Okay." And she goes, "I can't even believe how you knew this." She goes, "You really have a gift." So then what happened is I just started getting phone calls from people around the world. So I couldn't have modeled neck. I couldn't have worked. I just, from almost early morning till night, I was just answering calls, giving people information. They were referring me. And then I read for this woman, another astrologer, by the way, in Newport Beach. And she was the only one that said this. She said, "Okay, great. You're so accurate. This has helped me so much." She goes, "What do I owe you?" And I said, "Owe me?" And she goes, "Yes." She goes, "How much do I owe you?" And I mean, like, money. She goes, "Yes." And I said, "Oh my God, I never thought of that. I should be charged." She goes, "Michelle, you're not charging for 2 years." And she's like, "You're not charged." And I go, "I never thought of I didn't know it was going to be a thing." She goes, "No, this is a thing. This is a new direction for you." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I said, "What should I charge?" She gave me an amount. I think back in the day, it was like 65 or $100, whatever. And I just started. And then I started working with all these different people around the world. And then I started getting visions, even of world events. I had a client
Yeah, we're
actually.
going to talk about that next.
Yeah, well, the Berlin Wall. I helped some people get money out because I saw that crashing down. And I'm not, really political, or I didn't follow that kind of stuff, especially at such a young age. But that kind of changed the trajectory. And then I left and started retraining and studying and went back to school and went to Europe again another time and lived over there and just studied and dived in. And that's where I learned about channeling, because a lot of the people there did, and they said, "Oh yeah, you're a channel." I would describe, because in the United States, people only knew like a Bashar, like people doing weird voices and weird things. And I'm like, "No, I don't do that. That's not what I do." And they're like, "Well, then you're not a channel." I go, "Well, that's what they told me. They told me I'm a channel, psychic channel. This is the oversouls, the spiritual hierarchy." And later I found it in a book. I didn't even know. I found it in a book that I had that I thought was BS, that I couldn't even get through until like 8 years later. So it was like, it showed me that there are these other dimensional beings, aspects, some of our aspects of us, higher dimensional aspect of us, but they are beings that are guiding. There is a guidance system that is happening always on the earth plane. And I remembered, because I think it was at age 8, I was always, even as a child, was getting visions, and I would see ghosts, because if there's a lot of unrest in your house, you will have psychic phenomenon, so I would see ghosts. We had a lot of poltergeist activity, phone ringing and nobody there in the middle of the night, to kind of wake me up. I would do a lot of astral projection. I did a lot of, getting out of my body. And so I always had that interest, and growing up did yoga and meditation around 13, 14, years. So I knew this world or realm, but not this part, and how I fit in. And I remember at age 8, I was told I was a star seed, and I saw myself looking and coming down into Earth from another planet. And then years later, another astrologer, Elliot Tanzer. Now, mind you, so much of the stuff that happened to me, I didn't know. I experienced it before I found out through a book or whatever, video, CD, or a teacher. But he told me, "Oh, you're a walking," and I was told that, and I knew I had died at age 4. I was in the hospital, and frankly wanted to go, but I got a lot of toys, so I ended up staying. Um, But Elliot told me, no, you're a starseed, you're a walk-in. And I'm like, what is, I go, I heard that. I go, I had a vision. I go, I was told that I was at this place, like on another planet. And I had this like guide and this, family there. And I was asked, or told you're going to go down and help, you're going to go to Earth. And I remember saying, oh, and I had this look on my face, like, and then they said, well, you don't have to go if you don't want to. And I said, no, I'll go, I'll do it. And now I know that look. Everybody knows that look, right? That's listening. Jill, you know that look. It's like,
yeah. Do I
go.
have to? Fine. I'll go do this thing.
Exactly.
Fine. I know what you're talking about. So let's fast forward a little bit, if you don't mind. Back in 2017, you had 4 days of visions. We've talked about this before. They were channeled information about Earth changes. Now, this was before, you guys can do the math. This was before 2020. Earth changes, world events, including being told about the, we're going to call it the zombie apocalypse. I don't know. We might be able to say that word now, but YouTube dinged us once before.
Oh, did it? Oh, sorry.
What was the word? We're not 100% sure, because you guys, I think I shared before that I think I shared before in our last episode that her and I have done this episode before, and it got pulled from YouTube.
Oh, yeah. All my predictions got pulled. Even
we're gonna try it again
after the panty. Okay, so what should we call it? The panty?
Okay, the panty. I like the panty. We're gonna go with the panty. The panty and okay, let's see. World events, including being told about the panty, and shown events exactly how they ended up playing out. What can people do, or what things do you want to talk about that are coming that people need to know about, that they need to kind of prepare for? Not in the spirit of freaking people out, but in the spirit of, information is very helpful. What do people need to know?
Yeah. And also remember, when I was shown about the panty and told, I asked, where is this coming from? And they said,
Jill wants to get her show banned on YouTube. Tell us, Michelle.
Anyway, that played out where it came from, and the whole reason to test people and their, strength and immune system. So
was it a place that rhymes with the word Gina and starts with a C?
What is that, Jill?
I'm not going to say a city, a state, a country.
U.S.
Oh, it started in the U.S.? Oh,
we were part of it, and in a lab. They told me in 2017. I'm like, what is happening? And they said it's coming from a lab, and it's to test people to basically see who survives or how people do with this kind of.
Oh, there goes my channel. No, I'm just kidding. We'll find out. Hopefully, some of you guys got to see this.
I don't know how to get this information out. Even I did unlisted videos. I have 2 unlisted videos of everything that the predictions since 2011 and the ones from 2017 to 2018. And I had it on my Patreon unlisted. And 2 years after putting it up, they disappeared it.
I'm sorry. Well, maybe some of you all getting to see this right now. And just remember, she said it. Okay, so what else? What else do we need to know about? What's going on?
Okay, let's dive in. All right.
Yeah,
so
let's dive in.
First of all, I just want to say forget about all that. It's happening, because every prediction I've ever had, every vision has always come through. My accuracy is about 97 to 98%.
And even when I've had readings from you, I'm like, oh, that's never going to happen. It totally did.
Yeah. So, and I'm willing to come out more and talk about it. I usually just did it in workshops or small group channeling.
We got little bits here and there at your classes.
Yeah. Or with clients, their individual sessions. But I really want people because we have to start bridging and building. Okay. One of the things I was shown, and then I have to say, some of the predictions that I have are also confirmed by one of my metaphysical teachers. Was married for a short period of time. Actually, they were friends for 30 plus years. She was older than me, so she was a mentor teacher. Ted Gunderson, ex-FBI, California FBI director. So there is a whole agenda, and the only way we're going to get through this is by creating new systems. One of the things that I was shown that I just have seen, there's so much, but one of the things that I was shown was people are going to work not just for a basic income. There will be a universal or basic income. Now, the
Yeah, I was
guides
gonna ask
didn't
about
call
that.
it that. They called it units. They said that what
Interesting.
will happen digitally, that people will have a certain amount of units by how relevant or important their job is, or what level is the job deemed at. So there would be something that's very basic, which you might call um, universal basic income. But then there will be these units, like let's say universal basic income is maybe, I don't know, 2,000 units or 200,000 units a month. And then if you do jobs that would normally, or have a career that would bring in more, you could get 400 or 20 million or whatever units. Now, what's very interesting, I was watching Joe Rogan the other day with Elon, and he talked about, and I know why he didn't go there, calling you out, dude. You know what's happening behind the scenes. He's the only one so far, and I channeled this 2017, that talked about that there's not just going to be a universal basic income, but higher income. What they don't want to tell you is it is 5,000% going to also be based on some kind of social, because it's going to be based on what are you contributing socially through social media, through the world. A doctor is going to get a certain amount rather than, let's say, somebody that, I don't know, cleans the streets or something or whatever. You know what I mean? So it is the whole idea of these units, and this is where digital, and also the thing, Bitcoin, totally government, okay?
Yep.
Totally
Yep.
government to train people. I'm not saying you can't make money or make millions or billions, but it is going to be fleshed out. It's going to be another type of digital currency that's coming in. And so all of the stuff that's happening right now with the censorship, which we have a lot of that in the UK, unfortunately, we're getting it, whether people want to hear this or not, Trump as a disruptor, which I predicted him getting in both times, and I was told
You
why.
did. Yep. And I was mad. I was like, she's not going to be right about that the second time. Oh, cool. Of course you were.
Yeah, I got about 6
So
months to
mad.
a year before, because of his disruptor energy. But the thing is, we would already have the censorship. We would already have more controls on us had he not got in. Okay. So there are not two parties. There's not two of anything. There is a steering committee. There is a group that is funneling everything. And so it's when you look at parties, it's just which agenda, which is going to work better. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's about which approach is going to work better. That's all it is. There is a main agenda to get the technologists and the naturalists, or the organics. And so all of this, buying up of properties, putting laws in place for people not to be able to have, single dwelling homes, or it's getting harder, is all for this mass formation or reformation. Because these people work, some of you know, Jill, I told you, I had one of the doctors, Surgeon General from, I guess it was one of the latter Bush era, wanted me to work with the government, which of course I said no. Now I think maybe I should have, might have been interesting, but I didn't want to do that. And they told me back then, we're losing so much money by people going to people like you, healers, and people using herbs. We're losing billions of dollars, that we want you to work with us and train our people how to do this. And I, of course, because I work in holistic health at the time, I was like, well, I want to work with let's complementary. It's complementary medicine, not you. We train you and you guys do it all and take the money. Anyway, so that's a whole other thing. But the controls that are coming in now, two things I want to say: not everything is malefic, or there is a beneficial aspect eventually between now and 2050. We have a lot of change, and the predictions I got were for between now and 2050. Just imagine you are running a country. And I saw this when I taught school. Everything is funneled to this medium range. So some of this stuff is coming in a way to organize the masses. So some of it is not necessarily malefic, it's beneficial. It's like, okay, how do we organize? How do we keep some kind of order? And then some of it is very much. Now, some people tell me like, oh, well, the billionaires, the elites, the Bilderberg group people, the Kabul, if we just have these units of energy, these digital units, how are they going to make money? Well, that money game is very arbitrary. That's already been ending. See, we're so trained that it's about a dollar, a pound, a peso, something, dinero, whatever you want to call it, that it's just arbitrary. How much I pay for something is arbitrary. That can change. So if I'm creating a new system, I can create the rules. So if I was running the world, I could say, it's my crystals. If you give me 20 crystals, this is what I give you. And we've seen this over time, whether it was cowrie shells, actual crystals, gold, some countries, and they still do that. It's sheep or cattle, So that the productivity that due to the changes, not just with AI, but other things just becoming defunct, certain jobs, certain ways of doing things we're no longer going to need, even like postal. So this new energy that's coming in is fiercely independent. It's if you can, people are going to have to get more in this like Dora the Explorer, adventurer, let me try this, let me break free, let me come together with others and either adjust or augment a situation or a system, or start creating your own systems. Don't be so overly reliant on the government, because one of the things I was shown is a breakdown of the connection with the federal government and the states. And we're seeing that already.
We are, and we're talking about that next, Michelle. I'm just telling you that.
Yeah. So certain cities, states. So eventually what there will be is like a corporate board with representation, whether community, city, state, and then international. Also, a lot has to play out because we're in this victim abuser power over, underpowered, this dominator invader culture that we have on the earth plane. This whole idea of separation, separating from source, and part of that's been the earth game as a soul playground. In our ascension, as we ascend, we're connecting more to the soul. So that game of separation, you have to be individuated, but not overly reliant, on yourself or on the government. That's a big thing I would say to people is don't overspend, don't overdo, and don't waste your time trying to fight or protest. That's doing absolutely nothing, and you're not going to get the ping from 3i Atlas vibrational frequency hit. Because they want us fighting. And that was another prediction that I said, because people were saying, it's going to be a race war. I said, that could be a race. No, that's too easy. It's going to be by ideas and cultures, wiping out the individual person. And so that you are this automaton that is just producing, but more importantly, beyond producing, you're controllable, because what's happening is in the awakening, people are awakening more to being creators, to change the narrative of their individual life and the life on earth. That causes a lot of disruption, and and you've seen this. I talked to this in channeling around 2009 to 2011, and you really kicked in, not 2012, 2011, if you the changes that were happening. But people are stepping back going, I'm not going to wait in line or 2 to 3 days for the iPhone. I'm not going to do Black Friday and wait, sleep over in the chair to get a TV that's going to be $20 more. Who cares? But see, these are all control mechanisms and keep people disempowered. So you got to watch for those. It's very insidious. And unfortunately, a lot of quote unquote people that are supposed to be so spiritual, they're caught up in it too. They're like, oh, anyway, it just gets me, because it's like, no, these are like, this is like watching too many soap operas is what's going on right now. It's keeping people locked in to the victim narrative so that they're easier to control. Because when you realize you can tap into universal source energy, you are that. You can change things by frequency. And the things that are going to start happening, with these other influences that we have, other dimensional and, interstellar beingnesses, and, a lot of frequency changes, and, the veil's so thin that we have such a strong connection through the etheric plane into the astral, we're changing the narrative individually. All of us light workers and star seeds, people that are healers, that are just living differently. We're changing the narrative. They don't want that.
I know, I can see that one. So let's talk a little bit, and we are definitely going to talk about, how this is going to play out. I love what you're talking about with the government and the state relationship shifting. In terms of the money, can we go to that for 1 second? What is the timeline? I know you said, now to 2050. That's a long freaking time, Michelle. Are we talking about 5 years? Are we talking about 10 years? How long before
No,
money goes away?
here, it's not going to completely go away.
Okay.
No. But this is what I want to say that the oversouls in the spiritual hierarchy had told me and showed me. What is messing things up? Hello, spiritual teachers, light workers, yoga people that freaked out, making you wear a mask, not letting you do their classes, worrying about the red and the blue, arguing with people. They're supposed to be so evolved, and they're arguing on X, Twitter, Insta, and Facebook. If this is the thing, if you and one of my dear mentors and teachers had told me years ago when I did a lot of healing work and therapy, and I was doing all this healing work, and I was really miffed. Like, I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe this is happening. It was about probably a guy, I don't remember, somebody in my life. And they said, well, why shouldn't they do that? And I'm like, well, because I done this. Why are they treating me this way? And they're like, Michelle, they didn't do the therapy. They didn't do the inner work. They didn't do the healing. Of course they're going to act this way. It's you that has to make the change. You're of higher consciousness. You have the awareness. That's why it's upsetting, but they're not there. So we have delayed. So what I call it is mitigating consciousness. We can make things less extreme. And this is why they keep doing things, funneling things so that we get pulled in different narratives of things that we can't do. Because the more we come together, and this is this interstellar energy, interconnectedness, we are like satellites. So as we get stronger, like the biggest change that's being made is through the subtle energy. It's in the etheric plane and astral. It's not even, it's great us coming together like this. Our satellites still are getting strong and we're beaming. Everybody that's individually getting out of that game, out of that system, and getting more empowered and connecting into their soul and living more authentically, and activating their soul's gifts, their soul's purpose, their soul mission, you're sending a strong signal. And there's a lot of, had Lynn McTaggart on my podcast. She talked about this attention experiment. David Hawkins, Larry Dawsey, MD, the power of prayer, intention, non-specific prayer or intention. We are fiercely strong. The problem has been the light workers. They're not walking their talk, not believing how strong. And so it's been like this, like, oh, it's cool to do yoga or go to the retreat or meet friends and have tea and talk spirituality. Well, now it's like, you got to believe it and do it. You got to make the changes, because we are stronger etherically, because the universe reads energy, vibration, frequency. It doesn't care how many subscribers or followers you have. It doesn't care you're on the bestseller list, because if you're not of higher consciousness, you're not really affecting change. So somebody that is very, aligned, attuned on a soul level, their frequency and their signal is really strong. And that's what we're meant to be doing right now. We're meant to be gathering with each other and strengthening our signal, our ping, our to signal, our broadcast, so that we catch, like Jill, you and I are doing this right now. We're pinging this out. Other people are picking up this subconsciously through the subtle energy, the auric and etheric field. We're changing the astral plane. All changes happen to some degree, the akashic, the soul, but they really start changing in the astral to the etheric. So when something is astral, it corresponds to our emotions and actually even our hormones. It gains vibration and frequency and resonance in the astral. It connects to our emotional state and then goes to the etheric. If it has enough juice, enough vibration, frequency, and resonance, it will manifest. So what happens when we stop playing these limiting games it becomes extinct. It either doesn't manifest or becomes extinct. So we have to step away from the game or trying to be right and getting in the fight. We have to step away and create and live a different game. That's what makes the change. And that's what they don't want you to know, because that's what they know. And that's why they've held the power.
So let's go back to that for 1 second. I love what you're saying here. And I just, in the practical me is like, okay, does this mean that all of us fighting with each other over, is there a D next to it or an R next to it? Or is this is creating this thing that's having a vibrational frequency in the etheric plane? There's enough resonance down here because we're all fighting about stupid stuff. I mean, some really dumb things, right?
Yeah.
And because it's up there and there's enough resonance down here, we're manifesting more of this instead of us focusing on, I want peace, I want love, I want joy, I want soul connection, and bringing that energy in. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's almost like focusing on the thing that you want rather than the thing that you don't want.
Yeah.
Am I oversimplifying it?
No. You're right. Okay. Do you have to process? You get angry, you this, that. Yes. But you don't stay stuck in that. Let me give a very example that I use all the time, because it will snap people to go, oh my God, she's right. And it's not me. It's just world. Songs, music, fashion, comedians. There comes a time in the mainstream world, the corporate world, right? Every system, we're talking about busting systems. This is Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini. This is Neptune in, it's going to move back into Aries, and Saturn and Aries, grounding a new vision. When something is over, fashion, street fashion, all fashion, I don't care how haute couture, how high fashion, it all comes from the street. That's what people don't realize, how much power and empowerment we have. So what happens is when things start changing, and this cabal, they will manipulate to show something is more in fashion. We do this, you see it all the time. A sale. Here we go again. What is that? Black Friday or a sale. Latest, you got to get this, you got to buy this. And then what you realize, you start buying it up, and then you realize, oh, that's because wear skinny jeans. And everybody's, oh, it's in, we're buying it. And what do they do next year? They give you bell bottoms or whatever, flares, right? Or we go from long sweater to high. It's the same thing. You're being manipulated as to what is happening in the world, or what is cool or hip, or where things are going. And people jump on these narratives. You're being manipulated to get into these narratives so that you don't see where things are really going. People ask me, why am I so accurate in my visions and my psychic ability, whether individually or collectively, and the world changes? I don't get caught in that. I see the awakening. I see the trajectory of what's actually happening. And these people do it naturally. They have demographic, they may not do it intuitively, although a lot of them do work with psychic, mediums and, intuitives and astrologers for sure, to see where they go. But they have, software, they have, demographic, their trends. Some of the stuff that I've predicted, there are people that are, in this business that predicted a lot of the same stuff, but they didn't do it through their psychic ability or vision, or, they didn't predict, they predicted through a formulation. So I think people have to snap up and wake up, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't like social media. Oh, I don't like using the computer, but I want to have my own business. I'm like, okay, going back to newsletters, or
good luck with that.
You're gonna put the flyer up at the, metaphysical bookstore.
There you go. That's the solution.
So people resist because it's pushing these buttons in them, and they think to resist is control. Resisting and pushing back is not control. It's understanding that energy, the uncertainty, the chaos, and using that energy to create with, and not getting caught in that frequency. Now, Jill, you said something. It doesn't necessarily make more of what's already happening. It keeps the old system in place, and it stops people from seeing what's really going on. It disempowers. So you're more easily moldable. You're more easily to be duped because you go by what you think instead of what you intuit or psychically see, what the signs are, really.
This just reminds me of, I know it's a dumb example, you guys, but it's about to be Thanksgiving here in a couple of weeks. And I'm just thinking of this when a few years ago, I was hearing and seeing on the news, there was going to be a shortage of turkeys. Like that I know, humor me, you guys, this is a dumb example, but I remember you guys might remember this, like all over the news, it's a shortage of turkeys, go get your turkey now. And so we went and we bought a big turkey, and I'm like, I don't think there's a shortage of turkeys. So I talked to a farmer, and he's like, no, that's just marketing. You fell for it. I felt so dumb. And I thought, I'm not going to believe anything. I'm not believe anything. I have to actually physically see that there are no turkeys on the farm for me to believe it. Because he said, look what they made you do. You guys, everybody bought all the turkeys before the end of October. I mean, and there was never a turkey shortage. It was like, what?
Yeah.
I love what you're saying.
Just imagine, let's go. I love that. So just imagine that. And because I will tell you, ex-FBI director Ted Gunderson on the other side now, but he told me something. He goes, listen, we've either started the group or we've infiltrated it. So all these things on social, remember the black square that happened years
I missed
ago?
That one.
Black Lives Matter. Everybody on Instagram was putting up.
Yes.
And I did not do it. I'm like, I'm not putting no blacks. First of all, I don't believe in that stuff. All lives matter, not one person or one whatever. Anyway, I did my research, and I think there was only one other hip hop guy that didn't do it. That stupid square was started by a corporation as a marketing gimmick. All these people, I'm showing my allegiance, I'm putting the blacks. But see what I'm saying?
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Yeah, it gains this. So imagine when people are that manipulatable, and there will always be a group of mainstream, what do they call them? They're non-main character. They're not, and I hate to say it, there's just certain people that are just meant to go along, and that's fine. And that's what the global, it's the cabal, it's even beyond globalists, are trying to control, as there's a lot of change coming up and they know this. There's just so much being used right now. I mean, even like the housing, there's just so much being used right now to distract from our power and connectedness, our connection.
Well, let's get into that a little bit here, because one of the things that's going on right now, and we're recording this on 11/7 at 4:00 Pacific. There's right now, as of this moment, is, I believe, unless something happened just a few minutes ago, that the government is still shut down, and people who are relying on government benefits, and I think we had Googled between WIC and food stamps, it was 15% of the population was using this. You had mentioned that there was going to be some shifting between the governments and the states. Can you talk a little bit about, over the next few years, what's going to happen with the shifting of responsibilities between the states and the federal government?
It's going to go more state, city, community. And this is also where those 5G or smart cities, and the guides told me about that. They didn't call it 5G, but they told me.
So that's coming? That's coming?
Oh, sure. That's already in the works. Yes.
Okay.
People have sent me links of those that are already slated, whether between here and Saudi Arabia. That's another thing. Thank God for a lot of my clients. I get the confirmations. Our government is thick in bed with China, everybody. So do not even think that we have, I did want to talk about that. Will be off the coast. I do see, but I feel that it's going to be, or what I was shown, was that militarization and what do you call, like when they have, and it did show the stuff with food, like people stocking up a lot of food, and certain stores like having like an outlet, but let's say like in your house or in your garage, if you are buying a lot of food, you might be selling it for the community and such. So things are going to get more individual and more, like I said, city, state, eventually no Federal Reserve or federal tax.
Interesting. What's the time frame on that? Any sense of how long? Because I know we've talked about this one before.
We have that mitigating consciousness. So
okay, so it kind of depends on us.
But I'm going to say probably 3 to 5 years.
No Federal Reserve in 3 to 5 years?
No, we're on the way, like also with the they're rezoning. So you're seeing, and what's going to happen is people are going to be moving, which you've already seen, and that they told me this in 2017. People will have to move, if you can, to wherever your beliefs are, your ideas, or your values, because there's going to be whole cities, whole chunks. Remember, I also saw on the coast, Malibu, all those houses gone. That ended up happening.
I remember that.
So some of this is planned. Some of this is taking advantage of things to put the plan more in place, right? So due to zoning, due to certain groups gathering and saying, okay, this city is known for this. There's this type of community. This state is known for these kinds of beliefs. And due to that, there's going to be a lot of fighting. I was shown this in 2017 between the federal government and states and cities. And the federal government will be saying, well, then we're not going to do this. We're not going to fund you. We're not going to take care of this.
Something familiar.
I know. And this came through in 2017. The thing is about the food stamp, because people are going to have those units, the basic income and whatever you want to call higher income, or the units. Like the guides that showed me, there were actual units. They showed these passports with medical and what you do and how many units you're worth, and and they'll just be deducted. So they're getting people used to that. A lot of the stuff that's happening right now is to get people used to. We're in a time of bridging, not just as light workers and healers, people that are helping humanity, the whole world, the whole system. It can't happen all at once. So now they're trying to create these inroads so that old aspects of the system, or old parts, or old ways of getting your funding or your money is not working, because what they're wanting to do is have everything very digital. And for a lot of people, it will be digital, a digital wallet. For some people, there will be chipped if you want that. Not everybody's going to want that, because we also have the naturalists. We're going to have those people that are kind of in between, and then some that are choosing to whether live more rurally, or even in a city, live in an area that is more, let's say, partitioned off, that isn't wanting to be completely digitized.
So there was something you started to say. I'm going to go back to it. First of all, this is sounding a whole lot like the Hunger Games.
Is it? Oh, okay.
The different districts had different roles.
There's a reason those movies
are
done in a way to get people. Where do you think they come from? They come from where the.
Yeah, that's true. Get us. Oh, God, that last book was really painful. I'm not going to give anything away if you're the one person that didn't read it, but that last book was rough. Yeah, you started to say that there could be some. I think you were talking about military activity off the coast. Can you talk a little bit about that without freaking everybody that total F out?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I saw, and my friends were just laughing because my visions were so accurate that I was living through it. What is it called? Not the ones with the light colored. They're not military. They're not Army, Navy. They're armed guard.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines.
Well, Guard. What is it called? The
National Guard?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I saw them. I mean, they were here. I predicted tanks, during the whole panning, and that was in some places, Becky's, or people were having, not being able to walk at certain times or get out, certain times, or being put in these like encampments. All of that happened. I am seeing now in the United States, I don't, and even in some parts of Europe, I see a lot more happening, or was shown, off the coast or in seas. So there could be, like, I guess, are they called tankers, or those big ships with the, guns and the landing gear and all that. There's going to be a lot more kind of intercepting and a lot more guarding shores, the boundaries of shores, right? You could even in some areas see, armed like protection.
So
So
I had seen something along those
this,
lines that
okay.
freaked me out too, but I felt like it was going to be okay. And I think you may have even talked about that. I had a vision of some invasion type thing happening in the US, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Because I couldn't the place I was seeing didn't make any sense to me. It was all cold. And the guys are like, it's where the US was invaded before. And I'm like, US has never
The
been
Aleutian
invaded.
Islands.
Not true. Aleutian Islands.
That's
Yeah,
what's
Aleutian
gonna be too.
Islands.
I had the same vision. That's
Did you see it
one.
too?
Well, they're gonna be able to break through, on that, and that's why I feel like there is gonna be a lot of, you know, along the coast, in a lot of different places, not just the United States. This is sporadic. That's why people have to just trust where they're guided, because this isn't just happening in one area. This is a international or global agenda. This has always been global. One of the things Ted Gunderson told me that makes sense. He said the next thing that you would see, Michelle, he said, is they're going to try to they have to take down the United States for this initiative, this direction to work, this mandate, this new direction. And I asked him why, and he said, well, one, our Constitution. He said, but we are um, feisty. He said the United States is based on working for yourself, the most entrepreneurial, entrepreneurs, startup, cottage industry, gig economy. He goes, it's very hard to get them in alignment, get them in line. And that's one reason the panty, okay? And some other things that are, coming up, like shutdowns, government, they're really trying to get this agenda in, and it makes sense. And I've not only traveled around the world, I've lived in different places around the world, and there's some places I really love and can't wait to get back to and live again. But there is something about our American culture, like when I lived in the UK, I mean, I would see people queuing up to get on the double-decker bus, and the driver's in there. No one's in there. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, we're waiting for him to. And I'm like, what do you mean you're waiting? We're queuing. We got a queue. The bus leaves at 10:50. We get on at 10:45. And I'm like, no one's on I got on the bus. It's cold outside.
Oh, you mean the door was open? It wasn't like you were waiting for the door to open?
No, the
Okay, no,
door's
that's weird.
open. The bus
I'm
driver's on
sorry,
his
UK, that's just
phone.
weird.
He was doing whatever. Everybody, 30 people queued, not getting on the bus. So
One thing I want to correct too, I just want to stick a pin in something that you just said. When you've given this prediction before, you have said it's not that they want to take down the US, they just want to take us down a peg, right? Is that kind of what you've said? Take us
yeah,
down a
well,
notch?
make us controllable. We're
A
not
little
as
more controllable. Okay.
we're not
That's
as
fair.
and so to break the economy, to break us connecting, to put certain laws in that we don't have ways of defending or coming together. That's why the coming together is so important. But if you're creating all this, I'm against the D and the R or the Tory and the whatever Labor, if I'm against all these people, and arguing and fighting, that's taking down. We're not creating, we're not building, we're not bridging and building. And then you're much more controllable because you're living in fear, and become a little bit paranoid of people, and you're oversensitive. Everything, bend your nose out, it's like, oh, every little thing. And I've been around some of these people now, not all, because even Ted said you don't want to know. There's been a couple like key figures in my life that have been, multimillionaire, billionaire, and been in politics, or even clients of mine. They said, you don't want to know them, because if you know them, they know you. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So maybe I'm on some list because when the government asks me to work for them, I don't know. But it's not the people, like even these are front people. These are people that are hired to do a certain thing. They're not the ones calling the shots or funding things. And so people getting angry, and also we're getting the level in our consciousness, the mainstream. That's why we have to change the consciousness, because we're never going to get an enlightened. I mean, never, not unless we change our consciousness. We're not everything. We are consciousness made manifest. We're spirit in the material. So everything by vibration, frequency, and energy, we're not going to get a higher vibrational leader, teacher. You just don't. You see it in relationships until you up level your self-worth and value, whether you want to call it vibrational frequency, you get people that are not great people. And so people, the more we're arguing amongst ourselves, we're not going to get that great prime minister, leader, teacher, president. And that's where people get fooled. That's another thing. They're going for the person instead of the stats and trust and doing their research online. I do a lot, even though I have great predictions and visions, I do a lot of research to get the confirmations because I don't want to just believe something. I look for the confirmation. Sometimes they come months, sometimes years later. But as long as we're doing this fighting, we're in the extremes of the polarity or duality, we're playing that out. We're not going to get the higher vibrational anything. And not in the United States, if you call it a president, whatever, because people are waiting for a savior instead of being their own savior and coming together. And so as long as we're looking for a savior, we've all done it in relationships. Oh, they're going to save me. It's the one. Oh, I don't. And then they end up being the worst one.
Mm-hmm.
So
I dated that guy.
Yeah, me too.
I told you all about it.
I know. We all have that guy or that girl that's so nice at the beginning, charismatic. That's one of the big learning lessons of this major great awakening and shift is for us to take back our power, our empowerment, and to care, and to trust ourselves enough to step out of over dependence or systems that really aren't serving us and learn a new way or try a new way. This is the thing to create the change. It doesn't have to be sweeping change or anything big. It's small little changes that we make because the universe, it's all vibration and frequency, right? So the universe will pick up on that and then help you and then accelerate. So even like a dietary change, or what are you listening to, or what are you watching, or don't respond on X or whatever. Don't get it. Just pull back and go, okay, I see it. Because we are that. If we're here, we have some of that vibrational frequency that we don't like. We are here to transmute it and transform, but we're all interconnected in the spirit realm. So when we can expand in our vibrational frequency, our consciousness and our awareness, we're not going to get pulled in at, some people not at all and not as, and not as much. But people have got to get out of that fight because that's how they're being controlled. And within the fight, there's a lot of fear of the other. And if you stay in that frequency, that's what's making things stick,
Well, I love what you're saying too, because like I have a neighbor that is very politically different than myself, but when we just have a conversation and we're just chatting, we're like good buddies because I really like the guy a lot. But I might not vote for the same old white guy that he did, but it's fascinating because it's only in the media where we have this separation. Like he and I can have coffee and laugh at each other's. You believe that? That's crazy, right? And not have any problem with it. But it's in the media where there's this fight if you're bad and you can't talk to them. And I would never do business with a Republican. I would never do business with a Democrat. So that's such bullshit. I do want to. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, interject, hold that thought, Jill. To your point, it's like we don't make changes externally first. It's by our frequency and our mindset and our beliefs. And I will tell you, because let's use really quick, because I want to share this, that Trump, I'm very neutral on him and a lot of other people because I'm just like, okay, this is the vehicle.
You can see the game playing. You can see the way the game is being played.
Before that, because I always do deep dives. I remember when that Art of the Deal came out, and my brother was in it, and real estate. Every guy I knew, I'm going to make money on art. And I was like, I read the book, and I'd like, this guy's a con artist. What's going on? And then I did deep dives on the internet. I don't know if some of it's scrubbed, but the bankruptcy. Anyway, I had a certain view of him. And with women, this is what screws people up. Everybody wants to be so righteous, and I was like, oh, he's crass. He's kind of, and he's making all this money, and he, had all these bankruptcies. So I was very judgy, but I had to let go of that. That's why my predictions about him were accurate. People were like, I thought you didn't like Trump. I said, I didn't say I like him or dislike him. I'm channeling, I'm getting a vision, and I'm predicting he's coming in. Has nothing to do with whether I like somebody or don't like someone. In order to be accurate in your intuition, your psychic ability, your predictions, you have to get into the most neutral place you can, where you don't have that emotional charge. So if that helps some people that are watching, because I always get people saying, how can I become more accurate, Michelle? What can I do? You have to do your own inner work, 5-step emotional clearing process, projection, perception.
On our website. That'll be a link in the description.
Yeah, I do that myself. You have to get in the most neutral place, that even if you don't like someone, because spirit, God consciousness, the infinite creative intelligence, whatever, universe, uses the most unlikely and puts things together and undoes things, reconfigures in a way that on an ego level we can't understand. I don't even understand it, because everything is vibrational frequency. So as we're shifting our individual vibrational frequency, I've said this before, but I really want to hone this in, and others are doing the individually, and we're either coming together, or even if we're not, our frequency and vibration and the emotions, the energy and motion of those, and the beliefs, the mental constructs that go along with those, that's what makes the change. That's what it's an inside job.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I absolutely want to talk about this 3i Atlas thing. Tell us, because I know you've talked about quite a bit on your Awakenings podcast. Tell people what you've been getting around this, because it's been very fascinating. It's a different perspective, and I think a lot of people have on it.
I just love that I have the experiences first, and then it's backed up by things, because they were even showing me, and I was feeling it as a pulse. And I think I recently saw on some podcast, and about NASA and this, that it is a pulse. So it actually started with an Awakenings listener on the live stream. We were having Dr. Jude Currivan on, cosmologist, and she's I guess she's got a degree in archaeology and physics from Columbia, or Oxford, someplace in England. Anyway, but she's a cosmologist. She knows all this, and she's also an astrologer. So the listener said, "Oh, Michelle, ask her." And I had no clue what it was. I was just like, "Okay, it's a solar flare comet. I don't know. Who cares?" So she didn't know much. She talked about it a little bit, but she didn't really know much. And he's like, "Can you dive deep into it?" And I'm like, "I don't know anything." And I said on there, "Hey, Jude, can you answer this?" She did what she said. And I kind of forgot about it. And then one morning, I'd been getting up early, like 4 a.m. I'd been getting these pings and just not being able to sleep, and just feeling this energy coming in, and just feeling different in myself. So one morning I got up really early, I meditated, and then I went back to sleep, and I thought, and I was just kind of waking up, and I was feeling this kind of energy. I've just felt different. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to put on an astrology video while I'm getting ready and getting going. So I'm still laying in bed and, switching around and on YouTube, and you know how they recommend a video.
Mm-hmm.
And I only saw the title, and I thought, oh, that's what the listener's Sunray was talking about. And I saw 3i Atlas, and all of a sudden I just got pushed back, like this piercing energy. I didn't even click on the video. I don't even know. I can see the woman's face. And I just felt all this energy, and I just started sobbing, and my heart was opening, and this like a ray of light was coming in, just like this piercing energy. And I just felt all this stuff kind of falling away. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on with me? And I just was crying. And then I thought, oh, maybe I should record this. And then I tried to, but then the frequency lowered when I tried to do a video. And so I thought, okay, I can do a voice note. So I got my phone, and I just held it out. And I did mute a little bit because I was just I sobbed a little bit on it, but I was like sobbing of happy, sad connection to the every nature, everyone. I mean, it was just, oh my God, such an amazing feeling. And then I started getting these transmissions somatically within the body and telepathically that they're here to uplift and support and help us do what we need to do individually, but also as a collective. But it's a collective energy. They said they were a beingness. It's a consciousness or a beingness that's taking this form. It's not the frequency, but it's the conduit of this particular frequency and pulsation. They showed me these waves, that they're this wave form. So it is affecting us, on a vibrational level. So I got a lot of information, and then I just stopped the channeling, got up, and I was just like so high, so emotional, but so expanded, so high. And then I thought, okay, that's that. And then ping, like an hour later, I was doing some stuff, I think getting ready for sessions. And then they gave me this whole download about the frequency that you can connect into them to the note of C, key of G. And then I got more information about the vibrational frequency, the notes, the grounding energy. G is activating the throat chakra. If you start from the key of G and the note of C, it's actually that natural pause point above the crown chakra, that portal. So it's helping us ascend and expand. It's very interesting. I can now even see subtle energy. I can see where we're expanding beyond, which we already have expanded in this energy, the old energetic field. Now, I had predicted in July, and I think this is when this 3-eye atlas was seen, I was predicting that we would have an amazing, major energy shift, that a new frequency was coming in. I had no idea it was this 3-eye atlas, or that was a channel or conduit of it. And I said, there's gonna be a lot of grief, a lot of emotions. They work through the emotion or emotional body. And so as we're crying or healing or connecting into the emotions, and we are emotional beings, energy and motion, everything's about our emotional, vibrational frequency of inspiration, inspired action, so we clearing those emotions, we have to use the emotional body to create, to attract and to manifest. So what was really cool is it opened the door to me. I had to reach out to people. I reached out to Grace that I think you know, and done a workshop with her, a sound healer, musician, her husband Nelson, who's a musician. And I'm like, I don't know anything about music. I don't know why they gave me this note, but they told me to pass it on, and that we're all to start connecting, that you'll get the contact through the frequency. It's a contact, and then we connect in with each other. And we're meant to communicate like we're doing now, Jill. We need to start communicating with each other. We need to start talking, because that is the ping that gets us contact, but then we connect with each other on a vibrational level, right? Through resonance. And again, it gets stronger, our frequency and how we're broadcasting. And since then, like on my Patreon, people have put like a song list of these.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and different songs, a playlist, different names. Imagine by John Lennon is in those chords. Let It Be. Other, kind of music. So it's really changed my life. I am not the same. I don't look the same. I don't feel the same. Even friends of mine are saying that, like, wow, you look different. There's something. My manicurist the other day said, "You look young. What are you doing? Did you have some work?" I said, "No, I've never done anything done." I said, "It's the alignment, it's attunement, it's frequency." So we are being so helped and so supported, and there's such a bigger purpose and mission to what's happening on the earth plane. Not really even just for us, those that are coming after us. The new systems. I was shown by 2050, we have a whole new world. There's another awakening, a greater awakening at that time, where it's going to be called the Great Remembrance, where different people are, and even younger people, there's like time capsules. We're going to start hiding things, because you can see it already. A lot of our history is being changed and hidden. So there's people that are doing this. There's another internet, just so when things get taken down and manipulated, there's people that are working on this. Just think of like the Wayback Machine, online or on the internet. So there's all these fail safes that are starting to be put in place. And what will ultimately happen, in that time period, that there will be kind of a, I don't know, garden of euphoric time. We have a lot of the unrest. We're here to build it, to bridge from the old to the new and build. A lot of us came back to do that and help. But there will be people anchoring, and some of what not Alpha, it's a ways, but even a little bit of Gen Z, not all of them, not everybody. It's not by age, it's not by generation, it's by vibrational frequency and consciousness. That there will be those that are remembering. They'll remember how it was, and they will be bringing back, the ritual, the ceremony. They will be bringing back what the naturalists, the organics had said, those that channeled, that didn't have. I love AI, I love digital, I love all the app, I love all that, but what's the narrative is, the agenda is to try to think that is consciousness, or that can duplicate consciousness, that can be your God, that can be your mind or your brain. And I said way back, 5, 6, 7 years, ago, when people were starting to worry about AI, I would say, don't worry, because nothing trumps consciousness. Nothing is higher than infinite creative intelligence or consciousness. And they're already seeing that. And one of my predictions was people will be hired. In fact, I told a client of mine this, and he said, oh, that's already starting to happen, because he got asked to do it. I said, they're going to go to experts in niche markets to fill AI, because AI only has what we program in it. It's pulling, it's just like a great languaging model, or like back in the day, what is it called? Those like spider or crawlers that just takes information, gathers information on the web, and then puts it together, codifies it. Oh, this fact, this,
algorithm and
it's algorithm. I think it's called a crawler.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think it's called a spider or crawler. I can't remember.
Spider. Yeah. And so, and that's really a lot of what AI is doing. Yeah, it can do more, but it can't do more than infinite consciousness. It just can't. I mean, so, it's going to have people that, fund it or fill it, to put in new ideas or concepts, and then reconfigure, from that. But yeah, there will be people that, that's where they're getting their narrative, that's where they're getting their information, and that's what they're plugging into. And then there'll be those that, yeah, that's a fun thing to use as a tool or do. But you're going to see the naturalists, is what I was told, are going to get fiercely intuitive, that sixth sense coming up, and a lot more psychic and telepathic. We're already, Three Eye Atlas is bringing that ping for
let's talk about
telepathy.
how other than just the music, although maybe that's the answer to this question, how can the average person watching this show right now tune into that energy?
One of the things, again, on my website, and it's free, you can download, it's called alignment meditation. It teaches you how to expand through the subtle energy. You have to shift, your frequency shifts, and therefore then there's a consciousness shift, an expansion of what you're aware of. So it's similar to seeing, it's such a different frequency. So if you're accessing energy above that, although I've accessed it more from here, but that portal, if you're shifting out of the extremes of duality, that's why one of the things Three Atlas said, because I was wondering, like, if you're talking about too much of what's going on the earth plane, or getting in the fight, the arguing and fear of what's going on, and you're just looking at more of the material reality, the seen reality, the constructed reality, you won't be in that vibration to get the ping. Right. My sense is also, they said some people are getting the ping, are feeling this frequency shift, even because Three Eye Atlas it's like when we discovered Neptune, and right along the time we discovered Neptune, that planet that brought in the camera that brought in art, a lot of art and music. That whole era, and what do you call it? The photo lab, right?
Mhm.
Which is kind of that magic. So it's not really the planets that do anything. They're a just like it's a filter or a quality of energy. It's still coming from source, or the all that is, or everything, right? It's still. So even with 3i Atlas, it's a conduit. It's holding that frequency, that complex of frequencies that it's pinging. It's putting out, piercing. So if you're in that frequency, you're either going to feel it, or if you're meant to have that experience with that interstellar beingness, that frequency of consciousness, you will, or you may just be picking up on the frequency that came in on July. It's not just through that. It's almost like, okay, like we're talking about Neptune, the planet, right? And it's art, music, it's photography. But someone might be the photographer and somebody might get the picture taken. So somebody's taking the picture, it's still the same energy, but it's manifesting differently individually. Or someone might be the dancer, because it has to do with art and creativity, but someone might be the choreographer, or someone's making the music for the dance. 3i Atlas was very clear that because it's a frequency, it's a vibrational frequency that shifts our energy, embracing this frequency, that it's so individual to what you need to get done, what you need to do, or what you came here to do, or what, it's very much about inspiration, upliftment, light, heart connection, energy, compassion, but all emotions, so it could be grief. If you need to clear that, you're going to have that kind of experience. But I've met some people, and I've worked with some people that have had the frequency. They haven't had the experience with that interstellar beingness or mass, in that form of the frequency, but they're definitely in that new frequency and harmonic of that frequency. It's a harmonizing frequency. It's bringing in another harmonic convergence. We're the harmonic convergence. It's about harmonizing or balancing, bringing in peace, upliftment.
Did they give you any sense? Because I know they're not going to be here forever. I know that 3i Atlas isn't going to be here forever. Did they give you any sense of how long this effect can go on? I mean, is
the frequency's here. We're not changing.
It's just going to be here. It's okay.
That's what I'm saying. They're not bringing the frequency. They're a representation of the frequency.
Okay, got it.
That's why it's much different than my guides that I work with, or the oversoul, the spiritual hierarchy, which is much more predictive and instructive. It's like you and I go dancing, and the music goes, and I'm doing this, and you're doing this. You know what I'm saying? It hits differently. It's going to hit people differently and have a different response to it.
Okay.
But they told me they were there already, just because they weren't visible. It's just we've worked on ourselves enough. So they're not going to completely go away. And they also said they would be renamed. Anyway, it's just that whether you want to call them the veils dissolving, we hit a certain frequency that we were able. That's why when I was getting pinged by them and literally pierced, I mean, the next day I had a lot of pain in my neck and shoulders. It was like, then it went away. So I'm sure it was working through some blocks, but it happens in such a way that like I said, you're getting what you need from it. And if you step down, like I got pinged, but I also had been in a deep meditation. Then I went to sleep for a little bit, and I was in that in between, that hypnotic state, that alpha theta state coming through. So that helps if you can get in that alpha theta state. It's definitely not through beta consciousness, but I could feel when I was trying to think or interpret what they were giving me, I could feel my energy going down. Or when I thought, oh, let me video this, it just started going down. When I put it out and I was just recording, which I've got like 8 recordings with them and 2 or 3 videos, but most of them are recordings that I've put on my YouTube channel and Patreon. More coming. I just got to edit them. You know how I am about that, Jill. I'll get to it. But anyway, yeah. So if you're doing too much 3D. Oh, the other thing they said, which I found interesting, our devices are impacting us.
Mm.
The
Is this
light,
a put your phone down
oh,
situation?
yeah, really, really balance out the time we're on our phone. They're like, that is dulling and deadening your frequency. I
Interesting.
couldn't have my phone near me. I put on the, the
Mhm.
voice note and I had it over. I kind of just laid, but yeah, they definitely said that we are being adversely affected, which I never liked believing that or thinking that, but they definitely said, yeah, we are definitely adversely being affected through the device, through the phone.
Interesting. Um, yeah, as we start to wind this down a little bit, Michelle, I wanna make sure, I asked a whole bunch of questions. I wanna make sure I got everything that you really feel like we need to say. Anything that I didn't think to ask that you feel like needs to be put out there? This has been so fascinating, but I'm like, I wanna make sure I've got
I
everything you
don't
wanted to
know. What
say.
were you know what? You sent me those questions and I didn't look at it. I didn't. So what, I think good, right? I don't
That
know.
feels
Anybody,
good. I
anything?
like I like ending on the 3-eye atlas because I feel like we got some nice positive, information and something that people can work on, like homework, tuning into that. I love that. Oh, I did have an odd question for you. Are the oversouls aliens?
Well, okay, extra, think about it this way. Other planet, we do have aspects of us that are not, that are, some people call past life, right? But we do have other dimensional lives or experience. We are living multidimensional lives. We could be living a planetary life. So the oversouls are the higher aspect of us on a group soul level. They're groups, it's a group soul. Ascended masters are part of the oversoul, and they're here to guide over us. Just like when we tune into our higher self or our soul, we know what to do. We feel guided. We have our inner compass or inner GPS. So there is a point, and you can feel it when you're around certain people, that there is this interconnection, this seamless part where we are like Ashtar Command. I was channeling Ashtar for a while. That's a group soul, even
Mhm.
though it seems to be a male presence or energy that speaks. So on some level, we are these group souls, right? So we have an oversoul. Soul is your design, right? It's the matrix. It's a design. It's your complex of vibrational frequencies and all that entails, and then how it manifests vibrationally, and then it steps down into denser physical form to manifest as a avatar form being. But when you're on most planetary experiences, our group is a kind of a group awareness. The spiritual hierarchy, which are a type of ascended masters that includes the oversoul energy, are helping to guide what's going on earth. It's within the spirit realm guiding. And some of those beings do have planetary lives as well, right? So what separates all this out is really by vibration and frequency. Except if you're coming, like, let's say Pleiades, like you might have recall, like, oh, I remember being from Pleiades, or uh, Sirius. So you could have other dimensional lifetimes, but an aspect of you is still there. I think that's important for people to understand, that there is this aspect of you in other dimensional realms. And part of the awakening for a lot of star seeds and light workers is that we're taking that information and bringing it into this arena. You said Hunger Games, because the earth plane is the only place where we have this distortion, dissonance, um, up and down emotions, fighting, this, that. It's an interesting game where we get to live things out emotionally, the ups and the down. We don't have that on other dimensional realities or planets. So in a way, the soul gets to learn and play things out through the earth plane. And so it's exciting for the soul. The good, the bad, the ugly. The soul likes it. The stuff that we on an ego level think is horrible, the soul comes here to do this. But every now and then there is a group, whether you want to call a group of New World servers, especially now we're the third wave that's coming in, that is moving out of the extremes of polarity. We come in to change the trajectory of the game, because it can't be simply changed through humans, the hybrids, the star seeds, it has to be, there's an intervention that comes in. This is not the only intervention that has ever happened if you look through history, but what's happening now is we're clearing a lot of the history, especially through the ancient and biblical times. That all has to play out to cleanse and clear and rebalance. Not everybody's part of that karmic and dharmic completion. The people that are know they are. So much is happening simultaneous: the breakdown, the destruction, the chaos, creating and using that chaotic energy, the building up, while certain things are dismantled. So because Earth will be unrecognizable by probably 2030, you're going to see a lot of change. And between 2040, 45, and then into 2050, that the game, it's just like an overhaul of in a way, of a video game. Even though I know things impact me, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to have anything bad happen, but that's the Earth game. But the narrative and the game and the rules, there's so much that is changing. And so some of these lower vibrational beings and energy, some of them don't have a soul. Some of them are just animated. They just kind of go along. They don't really think, kind of just follow the herd, that kind of consciousness. There's a lot that's getting flushed out right now to move us out of that, what you might call victim abuser, but it's with this the dominator culture, so that we're moving more into cooperation, separating out, but not separate.
There's one thing I want to just go back to before we kind of, end this or wrap it up. Something you said that I think is interesting, because you've talked about this before, how people always think that we're here to learn, air quotes, lessons.
Nope. Thank you, Jill.
School us, Michele.
That's a trap too. Also, last lifetime you misused your power and money. That's why you're poor.
No, don't get me started.
No, this is not a school. We learn. Think of children. Children at 2 to 3 or in the crib, they don't go, oh, now I have a learning lesson. No, they get curious. They explore. They draw, they paint. No, we are here to just experience and express us as a soul. We're not here because we did something wrong. We got thrown to Earth. This isn't a prison planet. No, this is a place to play out these energies, dualities, these multidimensional realities, and try things. And, we're here to express and experience as a soul, all these intricacies. And the byproduct, an important part, is learning. We do want to learn, but we're not here because of learning lessons. No, that's so, yeah, right. Doesn't that lighten things up, Jill? God.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, wait, this is fun for me. Like, this bad.
We're gonna have fun.
We're gonna have fun.
Like, and some people got that quote unquote lesson early, where they're just like, I just want to have fun. I just want to create. Yeah. So if you're doing that, you're vibing on your soul. It doesn't have to be everything doesn't have to be a mission. Your mission could just be to have joy and create, or bring joy,
I love it. I love it. Love it. So as we close this up, Michele, and don't, like, when I say goodbye to everyone, don't you log off. Okay.
Okay.
How do people know? I'm going to put all your information in the little pin comment, but some people like to hear it. How can they find you?
Internet, the interweb.
Oh, you mean the Googles?
Yeah, all of that. Patreon, Michele Meiché. I think all my socials are at Michele Meiché. Soul Insights and Tarot on YouTube. Awakenings with Michele Meiché podcast on YouTube. The Soul Awakening, Soul Path Journey on Patreon. Soulplayground.org is the website.
All of that's going to be in the description, you guys.
Yeah, books,
it's helpful people to hear it.
MP3s, digital soul path tools, my website, and Amazon and other places. All of that. Yeah. But yeah, I hope this has kind of inspired some people to, like, just go for your dreams right now, and just gather with others and If you're feeling that ping, like you want to do something or share, you feel like you got a soul's purpose, a soul's mission, you want to start something, create something. I hope that this messaging has been, might as well do it.
I love it.
Stop fighting and start creating.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Michele, for playing along. I really appreciate you doing this for us. It's always a pleasure. And thank you guys for watching. If you could like and subscribe, that would really appreciate that. If you do nothing else, you guys got to go to Michele's. She does these amazing pick a card things. I feel like you do them every Monday, but it also feels like sometimes they just show up in my inbox. I'm like, oh, well, it's cool. I'm going to look at that. But they're like shockingly accurate, you guys. And they're a lot of fun. And I'm glad you do it because it's like, it's free. That's totally free. You know?
Yeah. I have a lot of free stuff on.
You do have a lot of free stuff. I mean, even the stuff that you pay for is not that expensive, and it's totally worth it. But the free stuff, there's a lot of stuff that's free, you guys. So I don't want to hear I don't have the money. You know. Well, thanks, you guys. I love you guys, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, Michele. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Lots of love and light.